The European Central Bank has recently announced plans to introduce a digital euro. This digital currency aims to strengthen the euro system and ensure that Europe remains a leader in the digital currency race. The ECB justifies its plans by stating that more and more people are shopping and paying online, and it is therefore important that the euro system is able to process digital payments. However, the ECB also emphasizes that it will carefully weigh the pros and cons of such a currency to ensure that it is beneficial to all users. The planned timeframe for the introduction of the digital euro is currently unclear, but it is important to note that the introduction of such a currency could potentially impact inflation and other monetary objectives. One of the main differences between a centralized digital currency like the planned ECB digital euro and decentralized cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin is that the former is controlled by a central institution, while the latter is based on a decentralized technology called blockchain. The fact that the digital euro would be controlled by the ECB directly means that the ECB could influence and regulate the amount of digital euros in circulation to control monetary objectives like inflation. In contrast, decentralized cryptocurrencies are not controlled by a central authority and instead rely on a decentralized network of users to verify and validate transactions. Decentralized cryptocurrencies generally offer more anonymity and independence to users as they are not controlled by a central authority. However, they are also typically more volatile than centralized digital currencies as they are not controlled by such a stabilizing institution like the ECB. Obviously, both forms of currencies have their pros and cons. While centralized digital currencies like the planned digital euro would have stabilizing properties, they may also lead to the displacement of alternative or smaller payment systems and potentially infringe on user privacy. On the other hand, decentralized cryptocurrencies offer more anonymity and independence, but are also more volatile and less regulated. In the coming sections, we will delve into the potential risks of a central bank-controlled digital currency, but first, let's look at Bitcoin's problems. Bitcoin was created with the goal of eventually replacing traditional transaction systems and becoming the global currency. This belief is based on the idea that Bitcoin offers a number of benefits over traditional currencies such as increased anonymity, independence from central authorities, and faster and cheaper transactions. However, despite these potential benefits, Bitcoin is rarely used for transactions in practice. One reason for this is that Bitcoin has a deflationary behavior, meaning that there is a limited supply of Bitcoin and the value of each Bitcoin is expected to increase over time. This deflationary behavior is the opposite of the inflationary behavior of traditional fiat currencies, which are issued by central banks and have an unlimited supply. The deflationary nature of Bitcoin means that people are more likely to hold onto their Bitcoin in the hopes of it increasing in value over time, rather than using it for transactions. This reduces the liquidity of Bitcoin and makes it less useful as a transactional currency. As a result, while Bitcoin may have the potential to eventually replace traditional transaction systems and become a global currency, it is currently used more as a speculative asset rather than a currency for everyday transactions. Secondly, Bitcoin relies on a proof-of-work consensus model. Simply put, the network of computers is tasked with solving very complicated math calculations. The computer that gets the result first has the final say on what will be written in the next block of the blockchain. One advantage of this is that they are more secure, as they require a significant amount of computational power to create new blocks and add them to the blockchain. This makes it difficult for an attacker to gain control of the network and manipulate the ledger. POV consensus models are also decentralized, as anyone with sufficient computational power can participate in the process of creating new blocks. One disadvantage is that they can be resource intensive, as they require a large amount of energy to power the computational processes involved in creating new blocks. This can make them expensive to operate and contribute to environmental concerns. POV consensus models can also be slower than POS consensus models, as they require more time to reach consensus and validate transactions. This brings us to the third point. Bitcoin has a limited number of transactions that it can process per second, which is currently around 7 transactions per second. This is significantly lower than the transaction limits of traditional transaction systems such as Visa, which can process around 65,000 transactions per second. For example, if a merchant were to accept Bitcoin as a payment method, they would only be able to process around 7 transactions per second, which could lead to long wait times for customers during peak periods. In contrast, if the same merchant were to accept traditional payment methods like Visa, they would be able to process much more transactions per second, resulting in a faster and more efficient checkout process for customers. Another example example of the transaction limits of Bitcoin is when the network is congested, such as during times of high demand or when a large number of transactions are being made at once. In these situations, the transaction limits of Bitcoin can be reached, causing a backlog of transactions and resulting in slower processing time and higher fees for users. On the other hand, traditional transaction systems like Visa are able to handle higher levels of congestion and maintain faster processing times even during times of high demand. Overall, while Bitcoin may offer certain benefits over traditional transaction systems, its low transaction limit and susceptibility to congestion make it less efficient and practical for everyday use compared to traditional payment methods. The ECB is quick to point out the dangers of decentralized and unregulated cryptocurrencies in order to advocate for a regulated version conveniently controlled by themselves. Of course, they promise to only plan this to protect the people, almost as if it was an altruistic maneuver. And this promise of good intent and general concern for the public will win many hearts over, some of which enjoy the stability of state control, and some others who won't even care about the topic to begin with, as they only consider convenience. But unsurprisingly, these are likely not the main motives. Rather, it's an effort to shut down the crypto movement and prevent the rise of a monetary system outside of state control, because that would cause the central banks to lose their power and their reason to exist. To round things up, let's now look at the risks associated with a central bank-controlled digital currency. One risk is that the central bank-controlled digital currency could lead to a displacement of alternative payment systems and reduce competition in the market. It could also potentially infringe on user privacy, as transactions using by a central bank controlled digital currency like the planned digital euro would be more traceable than those using decentralized cryptocurrencies or even cash. Additionally, a central bank controlled digital currency could give the central bank more control over the monetary system and potentially limit the ability of individuals and businesses to make transactions outside of the official financial system. Another risk is that it could be used to implement social credit scores, which are a system of rating individuals based on their behavior and actions. This could potentially lead to a situation where people's access to financial services, jobs, and other opportunities is determined by their social credit score. Thirdly, a central bank-controlled digital currency could give the central bank the ability to turn off or restrict access to individuals' own money at any moment. This could be done for a variety of reasons, such as to prevent money laundering, financing of terrorism, or other illegal activities. However, it could also potentially be used to punish individuals or groups for expressing unpopular views or engaging in lawful but unpopular activities, for example, organizing protests against dictators or financing the opposition. It could also be combined with the previously mentioned social score system, and access to funds could be restricted or denied once you fall below a certain metric. Those options would be particularly concerning in countries where the legal system is not independent or where there are weak protections for individual rights. Coming back to infringements of user privacy, and as mentioned before, a central bank-controlled digital currency could potentially lead to increased tracking of individuals' movement and behaviors. Transactions using a central bank-controlled digital currency would be more traceable than those using decentralized cryptocurrencies, as they would be controlled by a central authority. This could potentially lead to a situation where individuals' privacy is violated and their actions are monitored more closely. Last but not least, such a currency could also be vulnerable to cyber attacks from foreign countries, which might destabilize the system. It can be problematic if the digital currency is used for a large percentage of financial transactions within a country, as a cyber attack could potentially have a significant impact on the economy or even the proper functioning of public transportation. To summarize, the European Central Bank's plans to introduce a digital euro have the potential to both strengthen the euro system and offer a more stable and reliable alternative to decentralized cryptocurrencies. It is, however, important to consider the potential risks of a central bank-controlled digital currency, including the displacement of alternative payment systems, infringements on user privacy, and the potential for social credit scores. Decentralized cryptocurrencies offer increased anonymity and independence, but can also be more volatile and lack tangible use cases as of today. It is important to carefully weigh the pros and cons of both sides of the currency spectrum and the general public should discuss those openly. Thank you for watching this video on the ECB's plans for a digital euro. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more financial news and analysis. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. We look forward to engaging with you and hearing your thoughts on this important topic.